Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. So we'll just start off with some introductions here. We're really excited to talk to you all about Xena. I'm Liza Dodoli. I'm a freelance writer. My work has appeared in Bitch Magazine and She Shreds Magazine. And I've been a Xena fan since it was on the air when I was a little girl. I used to have like a staff and pretended I was Gabrielle. Pretty cool stuff. Came back to it as an adult and I was like, wow, there's so much here in terms of like feminist and queer content. And so that's what's kept me in the fandom. And so I have the other really fabulous panelists that'll introduce themselves.
First question, have you seen Gabrielle? Anybody seen Gabrielle? Okay. No, I'm Tanya Cook. In my normal life, I'm a sociology professor, and I'm also studying fandom-based charity work and social activism. So I have a project called Always Keep Nerd Fighting, and as a part of that project, I've looked at Xena, and they're fabulous charity work that they've done since the show aired and continue to do. So I'll be speaking a little bit about that today. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Paige Mashburn. I'm a Portland-based geek. I've been doing programming at cons for a few years now. Fun feminist analysis of pop culture, especially robots. Xena is probably like 40% of how I realized I am attracted to women. You're a bunch of queer ladies, you get it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Goldie. I run a series of nerdy, inclusive charity events in Portland called Nerd Camp. I'm also a big Xena fan. My car is named Xena Warrior Princess. And today I'm dressed as Xena Warrior Queen. Oh, and so I am going to do a lot of running around today because we're going to have a series of rapid fire questions where we're just going to ask everyone to hold up hands and we're going to just go you, and you shout out answers to our questions and I have prizes for you. I'm also going to get us started, get us kind of warmed up, ready to participate. If you guys wouldn't mind moving forward into the front rows, like come on in, get close, we're all going to get friendly with each other. We're all going to learn how to do the Xena battle cry. Is my mic on? I can't tell.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was quiet.
How about this? This one's much better. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do the Xena battle cry in 3 steps and really annoy the people in the next room. So if you want to, go ahead and stand up. Get a nice, comfortable, strong stance. Power position. Power position. So first step is just la 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 la. You know, comfortable pace, comfortable pitch. Go ahead and try it. La 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 la. Yeah, you guys got that one down. The second step is to do it really, really fast. La 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 la. Okay, and the third step is the fun one. You take it all the way up into your high register. We're gonna have a couple little contests here, just to get everyone really warmed up. So the first one is gonna be for stamina. So we're gonna stand up, we're gonna do the battle cry. When you stop, go ahead and sit down. Last person standing is going to win a prize. Tanya, do you want to show them what the prize is?
I would love to.
And Xena's gonna give it to you. Oh, yeah, I didn't mean that.
X is going to give it to me. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Lovely chakram necklace.
2 different choices of chakram necklaces.
Okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to start. When you stop, go ahead and sit down, and last person standing is the winner. Ready? 1, 2, 3. contest is for style. So if you want to enter this one, go ahead and come up here and give us your Xena battle cry with a little bit of kick at the end, or a little bit of something to make it stand out. Do we have any volunteers? I'm looking at you. Come on, we need a couple more people. You can do this. Come on.
They want
Yes. Thank you. Woo! Woo!
What are you doing? I'm intimidated by you. Good.
the battle cry with style, please.
Yes. Battle cry with style points?
Yes.
Best
Okay.
style you can do.
Okay, so shall we start over here on the left? By applause. So if you think number one had the most stylistic yell, go ahead and clap. And number two. And number three. And number four. So we actually have a prize for everyone, but you win the necklace.
Thank you.
Xena, Xena.
I do have arbitration.
All right. Thank you all for your participation. That was really rad. Before we kind of get into the meat of the panel, I just wanted to let you all know that we will have a Q&A section at the end. So we'll give you all about 15 minutes to ask us any questions, anything you want to talk about with Xena. But we'll also, throughout the panel, have a couple of moments where we'll ask for responses from the audience. And we'll make sure and let you know those are coming up. And then just feel free to either yell out your answer or hop up to the mic. And we'll just give you the cues for when those come up. All right. So first, we're going to talk about Xena as a feminist icon. So,
Lights out.
oh yeah.
Let me see if I can
Okay,
figure it out.
yeah. All right, so that's just, if you can't see it very well, just a picture of Gina standing in a giant, wonderful crowd of Amazons. So let's start with our first feminist question. What aspects of Xena do you find particularly feminist? And what makes her such a feminist icon? And actually, just to kind of get that started, since we're figuring out the lights, do we want to have some audience members shout out some answers for us?
Rapid fire, so go as fast as you can.
Go for it.
Strength of character.
Strength of character, good.
Women supporting women.
Yes,
Woo!
yeah. Supporting women, for sure.
Feminine and powerful.
Feminine and powerful.
Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
She's not defined by her past.
Yes, not defined by her past.
She's not defined by her sexuality.
Oh, and she's not defined by her sexuality. I like this. This is all really good.
Back from them.
Okay.
She what?
She makes mistakes and comes back from them.
Yeah, that's
she makes
really
mistakes
good.
and comes back. That's a really good point.
She knows how to fight.
She knows how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's
She knows how She knows how not to fight sometimes.
good. Yeah, she knows how not to fight.
Principles.
Principles, yeah.
Help from friends.
Help from friends. I think that's really important.
Working mother.
Oh yeah, I mean, she is. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
All right, so we'll kind of talk about some of our favorite things that make Xena super feminist. I kind of like how it recenters classical mythology on women. For example, like when they go to the Battle of Troy, it's very much about Helen of Troy and her experience. Like Xena at one point even asks Helen, well, what do you want? And she goes, I don't know, nobody's ever asked me that before. Or something similar, obviously that's not the exact dialogue. And just taking back different myths like that and telling them from a woman's perspective is really cool.
I've always really loved how basically pretty much every important character, villains, people who've taught Xena things, like people who've been important to Xena's moral development, are all women. Like, I mean, there's only Caesar as an important villain who's a dude, and he's just like super evil, and he's like, here is the epitome of like the worst when men get power and think they deserve it, like male entitlement, the villain.
And we all know Callisto's the best villain.
Right? Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, she's the most important one, definitely, especially to like Xena's moral development.
For sure.
And then I've also always just loved that Xena gets to like be this like classically framed hero character. In fact, in several of the series or episodes, she's framed like a classic Western hero, which at the time was like really, really unusual to have a a woman being framed that way. Like, there's actually several homages to like specific scenes in like classic Westerns. And so that's like, I mean, we're kind of more used to it now because we've seen, you know, a lot of cool stuff that has women fighting in it now. But like, I mean, Xena was, you know, right there with like, I think did Xena start airing before Buffy?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, Xena was like the big one. Like, there was Wonder Woman way back, but even she doesn't always get framed the way Xena does. Like, aside from like the sexy costumes, and, like the TNA shots, like generally though, she gets framed pretty well.
I would say somebody in the audience mentioned this, and I think what strikes me about what's feminist about Xena is her performance of femininity. So I loved seeing someone represent in media the way I thought of myself as a woman, both soft and feminine at times, but then, you know, a complete badass when needed.
I love that too.
She's never ashamed of feminine skills or doing feminine things, like when that one character, Fiona, I was just watching this episode last night, I was like, oh yeah, Xena taught me to swing a sword and embroider a cloth over my wedding chest, and the like random characters like, oh, you're a warrior who embroiders, and she's like, I have many skills.
And don't we all have many skills? Yeah. Just another cool thing I thought, and this is sort of based on something someone said as well, just the relationships between women in the show. A lot of like Xena's big character-defining moments happen because of and with the help of other women, and I think that's really important. Like if we go back into her backstory, like she starts considering redemption when she meets Lao Ma, or then she learns the pinch from that other woman.
Malia?
Yeah, thank you. Oh my goodness. Malia, I'm so glad somebody remembered her name. And just a lot of major defining moments like that happen with other women. And then Gabrielle obviously is huge for this. Like, Xena may not have stayed on her, you know, redemptive track if Gabrielle were around, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I love that they don't, frequently in sci-fi, when you have two strong female characters, there's a dude in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And so there's competition over the male, and I love that their relationship is not about a man. And whether you interpret that as an intimate relationship or not, I just
We
think
do.
that- yes. I totally agree. But yeah, but it's never about whatever male is coming in between them or whatever person is coming in between them, and I think that's great.
I love all of Gabby's like jealous faces she makes. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this bit on Tumblr, but it's like a compilation of all of like Gabby's jealous faces when like dudes show up and like they're trying to like, especially Ares, and then every time when Xena's just like, fuck it. Oh, sorry. Whatever Ares, I'm not into. Yeah, we only get like so many F-bombs, so I'm like trying to save them. And she always makes this like firstly the jealous face, and then it's like the smug face. Like, yeah, she picked me.
All right. I also wanted to ask the audience, before we start getting into some of the characters, who are some of your favorite women's side characters and maybe some antagonists? And ready, go!
Ebony.
Ebony! Yeah!
Najira.
One more time?
Najira.
Najira! Oh my god, I love that arc. That is just like the gayest. It's so great. And oh my god, that bit where they like invite Xena to go like watch the birds in the lake, and she's like, no, I'd rather stalk you and watch you from the bushes. That's exactly what she does.
All right, let's get some more real quick.
I can't remember her name, but the look-alike.
Oh, which one?
So Meg is the one in the, it's like the barmaid, and then Diana is the princess. Diana, okay. Yeah, I
And
like
who's the
that.
priestess?
Leah. Yeah, that has to be the priestess, I think.
Badashia.
One more time?
Badashia.
Oh, Badachia, yeah! Oh, I love her.
I like Emery's.
Emery's, yeah, for the Amazons, I like that.
So many of the Amazons get short shrift. Like, I feel like they're such a vital part of the universe, and we only really see a couple of them, and especially, like, some of the characters, they don't get the kind of development that I would have liked to see.
I could watch a whole show just about Amazons, really. Well, oh, I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so there's always a reason. Someone asked me if there's a reason I lost my train of thought.
Amazons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think almost all of my favorite side characters were named just then, because then I also name dropped Callisto earlier because I love her. But then there's also a couple good antagonists like Alaska, and nobody said Aphrodite, which breaks my heart.
I like Aphrodite.
Yes, thank you. Aphrodite is quite possibly my favorite character in the show, and I couldn't fully explain why. I just love her.
She's also like one of the only like really sympathetic gods too. Like she's kind of like a self-involved jerk at first, but she really grows as a person in her friendship with
And she
Gabrielle.
kind of reinforces that women helping other women, like she does help Xena and Gabrielle out a lot. And she's not shamed for being like really overtly, stereotypically feminine either, which is nice. She's just treated as an equal. I mean, maybe more slightly, she's a little higher.
An
she's
annoying
not.
equal, but
Yeah.
Also the biggest Xena Gabrielle shipper.
oh yeah,
Yes,
something
that's
like
true. She believes in Xena and Gabrielle, so.
Well, I mean, she's the goddess of love. She recognizes it when she sees it.
Alright. I guess we'll kind of move on to something a little less fun. What do we find problematic on Xena?
The physics.
All of ancient history takes place in 1 year.
Cultural appropriation land!
Yeah.
Like, let's go to new lands, travel, and dress up in costumes, and pretend that religion is a prop for our like storyline. That doesn't always make that much sense.
We were talking earlier, and I had watched Xena back in the day, but I rewatched it to prepare, you know, so fully committed. And I didn't notice this the first time, or maybe I wouldn't have noticed it 20 years ago, that often the bad people are people of color or people with darker skin. And I found that incredibly problematic with my rewatch.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, when we talked about it, we were saying that was something that we hope would change should the show ever be rebooted.
Alas.
Yeah.
I'll work for nachos, I'm just saying.
I will too. So if you would like to have us on your podcast, just give us nachos. That's all it takes. But, and then I guess one of the other problematic aspects for me would be Joxer's toxic masculinity. You know,
Oh my god.
sort of has that nice guy thing going on a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely like the producer's self-insertion character. Like, I don't know if you guys probably know this, like Ted Raimi is actually like a producer's brother. And it's absolutely like, we see some lesbians and they're having like this cool adventure and they're such epic heroes, but like, of course there should be this random dude in there. And it's so funny because they try and present it as if they're like self-aware that Joxer is like a bumbling incompetent, but actually he has a heart of gold. And it's like a lot like freaking Xander from Buffy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, you think he's a good guy, but actually he's not that much of a good guy. Like, he's constantly, like, knowing Gabrielle's not into him, he's constantly, like, seeking her out, and then, like, when there's the whole Meg body switching when she's first introduced, and he's like, oh, well, maybe I can get Xena, and he's just really gross, and I hate him so much.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was, like, my favorite Joxer episode.
That's actually my favorite scene in the entire show. When like she just murders him and goes back to bed.
Yeah, like yes. Why didn't you do this like 3 seasons ago? And also, I don't know how many of you guys like remember this episode, but do you remember the like Battle of the Bands episode when we meet one of Joxer's brothers?
Liar, hearts on fire.
Yeah, liar, hearts on fire, and it's like he's like super coded as being a gay man, and Joxer is like absolutely a dick to him about it. Like, yeah, again, not a good person, but you keep being presented as if you're like this like scrappy heart of gold character, but you're not.
I did like that he sort of came around to his brother, at least by the end of it, but the whole treatment was pretty problematic while it was happening.
And even at the end, though, it was still kind of like a grudging acceptance.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. All right, well, now that we've talked about the problems, which is, you know, my favorite thing to complain about as a feminist, we can move into queer issues, which is the real fun. Oh wow, I had all these slides that I forgot about. All right, yeah, see how cool they are?
Oh my god, can we talk about how Gina Torres is Cleopatra in this? I love her so much! I actually, I didn't know when I was a kid and I first watched this, I didn't know, who Gina Torres was yet, and then I, got into Firefly and Cleopatra 2525.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys like the obscure weird shit too! And so then I was like, oh my god, Gina Torres, you're so pretty, why are you doing that with Autolycus? No. No.
All right, well now we're gonna get into some of the good stuff here, where we talk about queer issues in Xena and, our favorite ship of all time, or at least mine. I shouldn't speak for everyone. All right, so.
I think you speak for everyone.
Okay. I'm with my people here. I feel really good about it. Okay. So first, to kind of get into it, we'll talk about gender performativity a little bit because I think that that's a big part of just talking about queer issues, and it'll kind of get us there. So you already talked about it a little bit when we were talking about performing femininity, and I was thinking, what are some instances of Xena performing femininity that are used for comedy or storytelling? I feel like that's a major thing that happens a lot in, say, episodes like the Miss Amphipolis contest, or whatever that episode is called, but where she has to enter the beauty contest. It's often used to serve as a contrast between regular Xena and then this, hyper feminine being that she can become and impersonate, and it's usually used for comedy. So I was just wondering if people had thoughts on maybe that.
I think that also suggests the idea that when we go out into the social space, we have to perform. We're more deliberately performing our version of our gender, or we feel that pressure. I'm not saying we do that because we are all awesome and are authentic, but I think that's suggesting the cultural context, right, of to be feminine, you have to do this, kind of canned performance. And then when she's not on the stage, so to speak, she can be herself and her own embodied femininity.
I agree, and then I kind of think that some of her doubles reinforce that as well, because the doubles like Meg or Leah or Diana, they all are different kind of brands of femininity, and so it further emphasizes the different roles that women are expected to play or can play within society and follow the rules.
It's kind of interesting too because all the times they're using it to contrast with who Xena really is, it's pretty clear that they're implying which way is better. And it's not you get a serious representation of traditional femininity. Even Diana, who is lots of the good things that we associate with traditional femininity, is still mocked as being incompetent and overly naive. So I mean, it's often where I feel in some ways it's not so much there's definitely aspects of exploring her gender performativity, but I also feel it's aspects of we can emphasize how she's so cool by contrasting her with these lamer characters. And then it's funny because, she's actually only joking about when she's walking on the stage and talking, in the Miss Amphipolis thing. She doesn't actually care about any of this. So it's often sort of a wink wink nudge nudge, she's actually better than this.
Okay. And then
So it's not the most positive.
But she is always friends with all these people though, and she never tries to change them or shape them.
That's
or
true.
anything.
yeah, I agree with that. No one's punished for being feminine, which I think is really important. So kind of that discussion of gender, I wanted to use that to lead us into talking about camp, because camp is such an important thing in a lot of queer media, and I think that Xena definitely fits the bill here. So Susan Sontag helpfully defined camp for us in 1964 as a failed seriousness, a love of exaggeration and artifice, and the privileging of style over content, and a being alive to the double sense in which things can be taken. And I think we see a lot of that in Xena, and it sort of allows